From inside his car, Alex noticed a woman waving on the left side of the road. However, he ignored her and sped up. A short distance later, he saw the same woman waving again. Curious, Alex pulled over a few meters away from her. As he exited his vehicle, he suddenly fell to the ground upon seeing an eerie figure of a woman with a pale face and long, black nails hovering before him. Clad in a black dress and with white hair, she slowly approached him. Alex scrambled to his feet and managed to reopen his car door. Once inside, he was shocked to find a man with wide eyes and a blood-covered body sitting beside him. He screamed and tried to flee, but panic rendered the door immovable. Overwhelmed by fear, Alex fainted in his car. A few days later, Alex's father, Mr. Ganawan, along with his brother Anga, began searching for him. A blood-stained piece of paper Anga found in Alex's car heightened their worries about something terrible having befallen Alex, and potentially them as well. The note ominously read, "We come from the island of death." Alarmed by this, Mr. Ganawan gathered spiritualists and powerful healers who had previously assisted him and dispatched his men to the island. Of those invited, 3 specialists declined to help despite generous offers from Mr. Ganawan. Ultimately, only 4 agreed to assist and joined him in his study. We are currently in a state of mourning. Our son Alex left his car in a certain area a few days ago, and we have yet to locate him, Mr. Ganawan stated hopefully. I am counting on the 4 of you to help find Alex as soon as possible. The perpetrators left these messages in his vehicle. Alex, who was discovered by Anga, turned out to be Pak Ganawan's mother, as he handed over a sheet of paper partly marked in red. Can you find my child and identify who dares to meddle with the Ganawan family? Pak Ganawan asked. As for the payment, whatever the amount, let Anga take care of it, he added. When these 4 exceptional individuals come together, what can't we achieve, Pak Gun? Responded one of them, dressed entirely in black. The other 3 psychics simply smiled and nodded in agreement. Among the 4 middle-aged men was a woman not yet 30 years old named Saraswati. She possessed extraordinary abilities gifted to her since birth, seemingly bestowed by the Creator. Saraswati never learned from anyone, her skills seemed innately present. She had subdued many spirits who aided adversaries or haunted specific locations, and these entities became her allies in confronting foes. Unfortunately, she chose the wrong path in life, often assisting criminals and corrupt officials for substantial rewards. On Saraswati's right sat Pak Eddie, a middle-aged man wearing a brown batik shirt. He was both a spiritual expert and an artist. His artistic talents included painting and sculpting, while his paranormal expertise allowed him to trap a person's soul within his artwork and animate statues with the aid of loyal spirits. Beside Pak Eddie was Darman, a long-haired man skilled in martial arts. Darman trained under Mba Jarrett, a shaman with an intimidating presence feared by many. This elder with long mustaches always dressed in black, wearing a square black pendant necklace. Talismans hung from his waist, and large black stones adorned several of his fingers. For payment, we ask for 1 billion per person. Please transfer 40% up front. Before we leave Mr. Gudawan's mansion, it's wise for us to be more vigilant, as the enemy we're facing doesn't seem to be one to underestimate. Earlier, I equipped Alex with 2 powerful supernatural beings, Balajar explained. Anga, please manage the financial arrangements for Demas Darman and Saras. Remember what Bajajarat just said, instructed Mr. Ganawan, receiving a nod from Anga. After the 4 spiritualists left Mr. Ganawan's residence, they headed to Bajajarat's home to discuss their work. How about it, Ras? Do you have any insight or vision about the person who kidnapped the child? He asked Saras, who simply shook her head. Saras, do I have to force you? Bajajarat said in a raised voice, striking the table in front of him. Patience, sir. Perhaps Saras is still preparing her vision and isn't aware of it yet, Pieti replied gently with a Javanese accent. I know Sarwati's capabilities, Mr. Eddie. But it seems she hasn't had time to learn, he continued. The elderly man suddenly fell silent, his eyes bulging as if he were choking. His spirit will assist. His teacher appeared motionless, as if bound to the wooden chair he sat in. With your permission, elder, I think I'll turn you into a puppet, said Saraswati calmly as she smiled at Bajajarat and his student. You agreed to this, but we have to do the work while you enjoy the fruits of our labor, Saras said, visibly upset. Don't interfere when I'm angry, Saras warned Dharma, who seemed helpless before her. Patience, Saras. Have some compassion for Bajajarat and Dharman, urged P. Eddy as he tried to mediate between Saras and Bajajarat. I just want to test if this elder's renowned powers are true, Saras replied to Mr. Eddy. Yes, ma'am, I understand. But do you intend to strip Bajajarat of all his abilities like Eddy? Not at the moment, Saras replied calmly. I started to approach Bajajarat. It seemed that we could still hear everything we were saying, right, Fatwa? Saras asked Bajajarat, who appeared to be struggling. Please clear the Bajaj from the road, Mr. German, said Mr. Eddy, who seemed to be undergoing a change. Sarah always closed her eyes, and slowly Bajajarat was able to move, although still very weak. Dharman also seemed to have regained his senses and handed a glass of water to his teacher. There's always someone better out there, never think you're the greatest, old man, said Sarasvati as she walked away from Mr. Eddy and the Bajaj. Why didn't you help me? Don't look annoyed at Mr. Eddy, she continued. Before we left Mr. Ganawan's house, Sarah had locked all the doors, and she knew about your charms and heirlooms, replied Mr. Eddy. And you too, Dharman, why did you just stand by when Guru Sepama was struggling, added Bajaj to Dharman, who was bringing drinking water for Mr. Eddy and his teacher. Now go to Guru Anomo's house, ask him to stop his meditation chant and bring him here, Bajaj instructed Dharman. Without much conversation, Dharman bid farewell and left promptly. We've made a lot of money, but now it's causing headaches, remarked Ma Jarrett. This time it's Saras who walks off with the money, laughed Mr. Eddy. So, who can assist us now, asked Mr. Jarrett with a more serious tone. The answer might be inside us, replied Mr. Eddy. It's like at this age, there's no need to learn anymore, he continued while raising the glass of water from earlier. What do you think, Jarrett? We all know we can recall past events, concluded Mr. Eddy, leaving Jarrett feeling dizzy. Ah, let's just say this happened a long time ago, retorted Jarrett. Now please inform the others that we'll be visiting their place tomorrow, requested Ma Jarrett. Oh, not tomorrow, I have an appointment with my patient, someone nearby replied. Pak Eddy scratched his head in response. Yos mentioned to Ki Dalon that they would visit his house. Tomorrow, the day after, or the day after that, said Majana, tossing a cloth at Pak Eddy's face before retreating to his room. Hey, bye Kip, come on. So when are we visiting? Pak Eddy asked loudly. Whenever you want, Pak Eddy. If it's a good plan, I'll go along, replied Jarrett from her room. Yos, I'm heading out, feeling tired, don't really know why, laughed Ma Jarrett. Pak Eddy quickly left Jarrett's house. On the road, while concentrating on driving, he was startled by the sudden appearance of Sarasvati already sitting inside his car. Oh my gosh, Grandpa! What's happening here? Exclaimed Eddy. You're impressive. The only one bold enough to challenge Jarrett and actually succeed, praised Pak Eddy. Oh right, since when was Saras in the car? Pak Eddy asked, laughing in amazement. Just now, Pak, Saras replied casually as she moved to the front seat. Should I transport you to the top of a volcano? She joked. Oh no, let's not do anything dangerous. What if the volcano erupts? Pak Eddy responded with a chuckle. I'm only suggesting it for your own good, said Saras. You don't need to get involved in finding out who killed Anga. It would be better to use Pak Ganawan's money to open a gallery in Jogja, Saras suggested further. Well, regarding the money, I'll think about it, replied Pak Eddy. And I'll follow your advice, Saras, he added. Consider the money as compensation for the time we spent visiting Ganawan's house, Saras noted. If that's what you think, Saras, I'll follow your lead. We still need money after all, agreed Pak Eddy, continuing the conversation with Saras. And for your own safety too, today you should immediately. I will reach out again if I need assistance from Mr. Eddy later in Jogja. Just curious, may I know who kidnapped Mr. Ganawan's child? Inquired Mr. Eddy, staring straight ahead. When he turned to the left, Sarah was no longer there, leaving him alone. Meanwhile, the atmosphere on the Ganawan family's island felt calm, a place where some outcasts seemed absent. Mr. Ganawan's men, along with Anga, were unable to find the 5 individuals they had sent a few days prior. Perhaps 4 of them were still alive, but separated by Arga so that 3 among them might survive. Anga, who had joined in inspecting the island, recalled Dewey, whom he had once left alone there. Finally, he decided to stop searching and swiftly return to the dock, their main headquarters. Upon arriving at the office near the dock, Anga began dialing his men to track down Alex. Shortly after setting down the phone receiver on the table, it rang again. Anga picked it up, and upon hearing the voice on the other end, his heart raced in fear. "It's me, Dewey," said the voice he hadn't heard for 14 years. Anga was taken aback and nervously asked, "Who is this?" But then the voice shifted to a more haunting female tone. "Ahak and Rida are coming soon," she stated ominously. Hearing this, Anga slammed the phone down and hurried out of the room. He hoped to find someone there, but the large building with its high roof was eerily quiet. Anga ran to his car, hoping to encounter Mr. AEP, his private driver. From a distance, he heard someone calling his name, but he chose to head toward the parking area behind the building. When Anga reached his car, he felt a wave of relief seeing Mr. Asep already waiting inside. "Where are you rushing to, Mr. Anga?" asked the man behind the wheel. "To my father's house, quickly." Anga replied, gasping for breath. Suddenly, from the passenger seat where Anga sat, Mr. Soul appeared with a pale face and a very thin body. The ghostly figure resembling Mr. Soul grinned menacingly at Anga. "There's a message from Miss Dewey and Miss Rita," said the ghost of Mr. Soul with a deep voice. Before Anga could lose his consciousness, Rita appeared in a white dress with an extremely pale face, sitting silently next to him. Meanwhile, in a special room filled with eerie trinkets, Bajaj Rhoda was communicating with his mystical creatures. "Come forth, inhabitants of the round well," he called out while scattering something over his small laboratory. But there were no signs of the spirit known as Ma Jarrett. Frustrated, he called again, "O spirit of the old well's depths, appear." However, only thick smoke from the burning incense emerged. "Stubborn spirit," muttered Ma Jarrett as he abandoned the ritual and left the special room. "Hello Mr. Eddie, have you contacted the puppet master?" Bajaj Rhoda asked on the phone. "Sorry Ma, I'm in Jogja." "Contact the puppet master yourself, okay?" Mr. Eddie replied on the other end. "Oh dear, what are you doing, Mr. Eddie?" he grumbled while slamming the phone down. He was certain this was Saraswati's doing, causing trouble with Mr. Eddie. Thinking to himself, he vowed, "Wait for my revenge, you'll be begging for mercy later." Bajaj sat in the living room, continuing to complain about Saraswati, whom he believed had locked away his cherished ring and distanced him from his powers. Not long after, someone knocked on Baharo's door, startling him. He felt a strong aura emanating from outside his home. Bajaj resigned himself to the situation as he didn't have his protective charm with him and slowly opened the door. "How are you, Mba?" asked a person who appeared older than him. "Oh, Kitalang." "I'm doing well," replied Baharo, kissing Kitalang's hand in respect. Inside, he quickly drew out his protective ring and relaxed his internal energy. "Please come in," said Baharo to Kitalang. "You've been dealing with demons from an island," Kitalang informed Ki Jarrett. "Defeating them is extremely challenging because they've come seeking revenge against those you are aiding. So how can we deal with the demon targeting Pak Ganawan's family?" Ki Jarrett inquired further, relieved by Kitalang's visit which was intended to offer help. "Let's not rush, Ba Jarrett. I expect my share up front for this work," Kitalang said, chuckling. No worries, Ki. Money isn't an issue for me." "Let me fetch your share," Ba Jarrett responded. Baharo left his room and returned with a black bag filled with stacks of red and blue bills. "Here's your share," he said, handing it to Kitalang. Soon afterward, the telephone at Baharo's home rang. After a brief conversation on the phone, Jarrett invited Kitalang to visit Pak Ganawan's house. The two powerful individuals were accompanied by Dharman and Choco, Kitalang's disciples. Inside the room provided by Pak Ganawan, Anga looked deeply troubled. He alternately laughed, cried, and ran in fear as if he'd lost his sanity. "This is beyond my ability," Baka Ro whispered to Kitalang while gazing intently at Anga. This resembles the technique Mas Eddie possesses. He can imprison a person's soul within a life painting created through special rituals, Kitalang explained. Yet, it's clear that this knowledge doesn't belong to Mas Eddie because there's no gap I can penetrate, someone added. Has there ever been a bitter conflict of knowledge within? It's not just Mbak Jarrett. Before we became friends, I once helped someone who went mad due to one of Pak Eddie's rituals. I managed to heal him because there was a gap through which I could retrieve the person's soul. But this time it's a more challenging task, explained Ki Dalong. Shortly afterward, Anga regained consciousness, surprised to find himself in his room. What happened to you, Mas Anga? Asked Pak Ganawan, feeling relieved that Anga was awake again. Dewey Padui took me to our island, Anga replied, staring at his bedroom floor. Let Mas Anga rest for now, Pak Gun. He seems exhausted and hungry, interjected Ki Dalong, cutting their conversation short. Anga was then taken to another room by the house staff along with some of Pak Ganawan's other people. What's really happening to Anga? And what about Alex's whereabouts, which remain unknown? Asked Pak Ganawan, looking at Mbak Jarrett. Since Mbak Jarrett didn't have any information about Alex and wasn't sure what Anga had experienced, but Jaj Road seemed puzzled about how to respond to Pak Ganawan's question. Allow me to explain, sir. It seems the energy used for consciousness recovery was thoroughly drained, the explanation continued. It's possible Mas Alex has been hidden by a powerful invisible entity. This entity's master also caused Mas Anga's loss of consciousness, explained Ki Dalong. How can we find Alexi? Asked Pak Ganawan. This being appears to harbor a significant grudge against Mr. Ganawan's family, Ki Dalong responded. Baccarat and I will do our best to discover a way to save your family, the explanation continued. Alright then, Ki, thank you for the help from Mbak Jarrett and the others. But please gather people from Mbak Jarrett and Ki Dalong to ensure the safety of my family and me at home, replied Pak Ganawan. But Jard acknowledged his master's request and promptly took leave to return to Ma Jarrett's house. It seems Sarasvati realized who her adversary would be, so she disappeared and advised Pak Eddie to steer clear of the matter, said Mba Yukap Kitalang, closing his eyes while seated in Ma Jarrett's living room. She is a brazen female demon who has also imprisoned some of my genies, he continued with a serious tone. Sarah had been collaborating with Pak Ganawan's family for almost a year, including Ba Jarrett, Pak Eddie, and several other paranormal enthusiasts. She diligently monitored Pak Ganawan's home, office, warehouse, and even the family's dock. When she reached the yellow dock, some of her servant genies reported the presence of restless spirits with extraordinary power originating from an island. Saras summoned her strongest genie to prevent these spirits from advancing further inland. However, her genie was eventually defeated by Dewey, Rudy, Rita, Pak Sol, and Pak Mamet. So Sarah stepped in to confront the spirits seeking vengeance for their demise. The battle was avoided when Dewey shared their experiences and took Saras to the realm where Anga and his father had killed the spirits. Saras was infuriated upon learning what Dewey and the others had endured. From that moment, Saras decided to leave the Ganawan family circle. Now, Saras is seen with Arga in a village community. It turned out that they had taken Alex to a small house in that area. Alex's condition mirrored Anga's. At times he would cry, laugh, or fall into a contemplative silence because his soul had been transported to another dimension, witnessing the massacre that took place. Arga consistently fed Alex on time, determined not to let him die before reclaiming what was taken from Arga. Keep those bones you brought from the island safe, Saras instructed Arga. If the cunning shamans assisting Ganawan get hold of them, our lives will be at stake. The fragments of bones from their newfound companions are what could make all 5 of them stronger if used correctly. Destroying and casting into the ocean will return your 5 friends to the island where they were buried. Saras spoke earnestly, I won't let my new friends down. Without them, I might not be reunited with my family now, Arga replied. Meanwhile, upon learning about his family's predicament, Mr. Ganawan asked Grandma Keratin Kitalang to assign chosen individuals to protect his family from spirit attacks. Several paranormal practitioners were stationed at almost every corner of Mr. Ganawan's house. Darman, Joko, Komar, and Alam stayed in the living and family rooms. Adam, Marwan, Aris, and Bambang guarded the front, monitored by Kichalan, a disciple of Bakarat. The men of Alex Anga and Mr. Ganawan were also deployed to accompany the paranormals assigned by Kitalang in Basit. Mr. Ganawan felt more at ease, confident that the situation was secure. Although Anka seemed recovered, Anga remained silent with a distant look. Feeling safe, Mr. Ganawan continued his daily activities undisturbed by those around him. Meanwhile, Kitalang, aware of Alex's whereabouts, prepared to bring Alex back and teach Saras a lesson. However, Kitalang was unaware that through his pet ring, the 5 spirits were actually keeping an eye on Arga, Saras, and Alex's location. The restless spirits seemed frightened by our power, said Ma Jarrett. It seems so, Grandma, he added. Especially since Mr. Eddie was ready to confine Sarasvati with his ability. Once I defeat Sarasvati, Kitalang declared confidently. Elsewhere, Sarah communicated with Ra Dewey and Rita to plan the next steps. Saras requested Arohita Pasoli and Mr. Mamet to accompany Arga, who would be moved to another hiding place. Meanwhile, the spirits of Dewey and Rudy were asked to transform into other forms. Arga and Alex, thank you so much for your help, said Dewey with a wide smile. Actually, I'm not specifically helping you. Right now, I'm helping myself, fixing all the mistakes I've made, replied Saras. It turns out that all this time I have been blinded by the pleasures of the world thanks to my abilities. I ended up aiding wicked people like them. Now is the time to make amends, Saras continued, her eyes glistening with tears. Thankfully, your heart has been touched by the light of truth, don't squander the grace from the Creator bestowed upon you, Dewey advised. Rudy began sensing the presence of the arriving spirits. Let's finish this, Ruth, so we can settle our grievances, Dewey said. Before entering, Baharat and Eddie reached Saras's place, and their forces took on Dewey, Saras, and Rudy's spirit. Saras, who possessed natural abilities, tackled her opponents with ease, especially aided by the strong spirits of Dewey and Rudy. However, from afar, Saras heard the sound of gamelan and Javanese tunes that pained her ears. Saras sat weakly while the spirits of Rudy and Dewey continued battling against the magical ring forces sent by Kitalang. The fight intensified as other mystical creatures arrived to attack them. Saras appeared increasingly frail. Blood trickled from her nose and ears, she was truly powerless tonight. The spirit of Dewey tried to help Saras but didn't manage much when Ba Jarrett broke into the house where Saras was staying. Jarrett splashed seawater into the room, diminishing the strength of Rudy and Dewey's spirits. Where did you hide Alex, Jahayu? Asked the puppeteer, his eyes scanning the room. Jarrett, filled with rage, slapped Saras hard across the face, rendering her sprawled on the floor. Despite this, Saras managed to smile at Ma Jarrett, feeling relieved by the events that had unfolded. The ring possessed by the demon rainwoman radiated fury, yet Saras maintained a soft smile as she gently began to count, 1, 2, 3, lost in the incantation meant to subdue it. Suddenly, Mr. Eddie burst in, wielding an intricately carved teakwood board, and launched an attack. With full force, he swung the board. Kitalang, focused intently on Saras, failed to notice the imminent strike that would send him sprawling. Bajat, momentarily stunned by the surprising turn of events, eventually stepped in to assist Kitalang and Mr. Eddie. However, it was too late. Saras, freed from the spell, advanced on Ba Jarrett at close range. Kitalang managed to resist briefly before succumbing again, while Mr. Eddie persistently recited a spell, holding tightly onto the teakwood board with his left hand. What are you doing, Eddie? Why attack me? Asked Kitalang, appearing powerless. This is a message from the Prowirio family, victims of your crimes, Mr. Eddie replied. Who are you really, Eddie? Kitalang questioned again. I am the youngest son of Hadi Prowirio, the man who established your esteemed position. Yet, you repaid his kindness with treachery, he retorted. Slowly, Kitalang collapsed into unconsciousness. Meanwhile, Ba Jarrett stood upright, his eyes wide and tongue protruding. Do not kill him, he stated firmly, maintaining a composed demeanor despite the sharpness of his gaze. Somehow, the logic native to Java mitigated Mr. Eddie's aggression compared to other shamans. I only restrained him, sir. Thank you for coming to my aid, Saras said. Tonight is not just about ending malevolent spirits, it's about settling old scores, replied Mr. Eddie. I owe you deep gratitude, Bak Saras. Thanks to your help, my parents, the victims of this deceit, can finally rest in peace. It all came together because of a well-laid plan, Mr. Eddie added with a sigh of relief. Arwa Dewey Rudy, Rita Pasoli, Dan Pak Mama swiftly headed to Pak Ganawan's home, determined to exact their revenge. Meanwhile, Alex, now conscious, faced Arga directly. He admitted to deeply regretting his actions towards Arga. Everything that happened to Arga was under the orders of his father. Alex himself had never engaged in crime during his business ventures. He offered to return all of Arga's assets that his family had taken and was willing to help Arga retrieve the skeleton there. However, this was no easy task because two other major bosses were still involved in the island's operations. Kid Alung and Baharat, who now appeared insane, their spirits trapped in abstractly carved teak resembling Pak Eddie Saras, were also brought by Arga and Alex to Pak Ganawan's house. Upon arrival, they saw that 5 restless spirits had already finished settling their scores. These spirits apologized to Alex and urged him to end his father's small enterprise. Ultimately, Tahan and Anga met their demise in a horrifying manner, proving that the spirits' revenge on the island had been fully realized. The end. Like if you dare, leave a comment if you've had similar experiences, and subscribe if you want to hear the next story. But beware, you might invite more than just notifications, but also the fear of what lurks in the dark. Warm regards from me, Folklore_ID.